Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
What's going on, everybody? Dr. Homebrew. We are back with another episode, of course, because that's why you're hearing my stupid voice.
It's what we do.
Yeah. We have a good show for you today. As always, we have an Imperial Rye Black IPA, which, number one, gets high marks from me already because it's not called Cascadian Dark Ale. This is Black IPA, so will always be Black IPA. Fuck the Pacific Northwest. I've also had a lot of smoke beer, so I can say these things.
We're going to go big or go home at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whatever, dude. I don't really care anymore. It is Black IPA, but a Rye Black IPA. I've had this a couple times. I think Rogue was the first one that I had. It's very good. It's a cool style. So normally I don't really, fuck with Black IPAs, but the Rye version, I don't know. I'm interested. I'm interested
the
in that.
Firestone, like the Wookiee Jack, that's a good beer.
Yeah, that's true.
IPA.
I mean, anything Firestone does is going to be good for sure. And then we have a commercial beer, which is a Cold IPA / IPL, which, I don't...
We're going to call it a Cold IPA.
Okay, we're going to call it a Cold. Thank you very much, because IPL is like, I don't know, stupid.
Well, I think the one that we're going to taste was brewed originally as an IPL before the term Cold IPA came into vogue, but it is actually a Cold IPA.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fair. But before we do that, before we get to the homebrew and the homebrew, of course, I want to thank our sponsor, 5 Star Chemicals. You go to 5starchemicals.com today, immediately right now. That's the thing about the internet. It's just always on. So you don't have to wait till the shop opens or whatever. You just go.
Wait, it's always on?
It's always on. You didn't know that, Brian? Jeez.
No.
Jeez Louise.
What's happening at 3 a.m. that I'm not getting the internet?
Too much, probably. Yeah. And you can go there and learn about the best ways to clean and sanitize your homebrew, which, of course, is PW, Star San, all that kind of stuff, Sandy Clean. But if you want more information, if you want to go deeper than that, you can sign up for their homebrew club. You can go to 5starchemicals.com/homebrew-club-program, or there's a link on their website, of course, and you can join their homebrew club program. And with that, you get monthly emails with like discounts, stuff before it even hits the market, like test samples of stuff like that. You get informational seminars, a whole bunch of stuff. 5 Star really wants to keep you abreast of what's going on in the cleaning and sanitizing world, because that next to fermentation is the most important thing you can really do. So be sure to visit them. Thank them for the sponsorship. If you're going to HomebrewCon, stop by their booth. Thank them very much. The ladies at 5 Star are very kind to us, and so go get them beers. If you go there and you're like, hey, can I get you something? Because they're stuck working at the booth the whole time. Nobody likes that. It's no fun.
Yeah, I'll be definitely visiting them when I'm down there in San Diego. And
mule them beers. Bring them gifts.
Bring them beer, yeah.
Lavish them with gifts from the homebrew world. Anyway, today we have Ben. Ben, welcome to the show.
Hey guys,
how you doing, man?
Doing good.
Thanks for waiting, man. We we got you on late because we had Matthias from Schlinkerla on, and hopefully it was worth it.
He didn't have much to say.
He's kind of a boring dude, right?
Doesn't have the gifted gab. We had to coax every comment out of him.
Yeah, no information at all.
Such an engaging and wonderful speaker. So I'm sorry that we kind of moved you a little bit later for that, but man, it's an opportunity you don't typically have to have someone from Germany to just freely give out information for 2+ hours straight.
Yeah, after he worked a full day at the pub.
Yeah, exactly. on a Sunday.
Yeah. So it was great. Anyway, Ben, thanks, man. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for sending us beer.
Yeah, no worries.
So today we're drinking your Imperial Rye Black IPA. Is this something you've approached before?
Yeah, I do variations of this from time to time.
Okay. All right. That's cool, man. So this is something. Now, every once in a while, I remember what the point of the show was. Is it something you want like help with maybe recipe, or if there's an off flavor, or are we talking more about not what category to put it in, right? Because it's sort of its own category, or what should we be looking for here?
Off flavors for sure. If you taste anything, wrong with it. It is a little bit of a category question.
Okay.
This version of it, I wondered if it might fit somewhere else. I did some changes to it, and we can probably talk about that after you guys run through your score sheets.
That's fair. Absolutely. Okay. We'll be on the lookout for that. Shar, You want to go ahead and kick us off here, dude?
Well, I sure will. So, Ben, thank you for sharing this beer with us. I appreciate that a lot. We'll definitely talk about style stuff. I thought it was I'll start off saying it's a great beer. I enjoyed this a lot. I'll give you an overall impression at the beginning. I thought it was real tasty, very aromatic, flavorful.
I can smell it from right here, just pouring it in the glass. Like the hops are awesome.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
So and this is a beer that benefits from being out for a while, out of the fridge. You know, a gentleman was very kind to mule this over to me from Jason's house last night. I didn't put it in the fridge till about midnight last night. In a way, I feel like I shouldn't have put it in the fridge at all, because I had it out for about an hour, hour and a half before I started to judge this. And I think it really, really improved overall. To be able to be out of the fridge for a while and to taste it and to not have off flavors or off aromas, that's an achievement. So aroma is malty and spicy with obvious rye notes. Rye has a very distinctive spicy character, and I definitely got that in the aroma. Medium hop aroma with kind of an herbal, fruity citrus note. And as it warms up, it gets definitely more citrusy. Initially, I was thinking more herbal, and it came back to it 45 minutes, 60 minutes later, and it came out much more citrus, which I think is probably what you wanted. No off aromas at all, 9 out of 12. Appearance, it's very dark brown, essentially black. You could probably call this an Imperial Hazy Black Rye IPA. You probably enter it twice. One is normal and one is hazy. Who knows? But there's never a beer that's totally black, because totally black color doesn't exist in the color spectrum. And it's just a matter of how dark brown it is. And I could get pedantic about all that. But
oh, really? Are you kidding me?
Me getting pedantic about
Doesn't
anything?
sound like you.
Come on. That's not a thing I do. But no, this is the color's phenomenal. It's great. The head is extremely persistent, sort of a medium brown color, darker than tan, but it's not like a total dark brown color head. 3 out of 3 for appearance. Flavor, the malt character dominates initially, followed by some hop flavor of definitely citrus and somewhat tropical hop. Sorry, nice dead air as I managed to sip again.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, it's
I would have cut that out.
As it gets warmer, that citrus and tropical character gets more and more apparent, and it really is.
Yeah.
That's a good achievement, because in a lot of dark beers, no matter what style they are, the citrus hops don't always work real well. They fight the dark malt sometimes. But kind of going on to later on the flavor, this is not a roast malt beer, right? This is a black IPA. I don't get roast or toast out of this. I get a little bit of dark malt flavor, but not that roasty, toasty kind that really fights with the C hops and the citrus.
Is what you should be getting. I think
exactly.
I think a lot of people, once the style sort of started growing, it was roasty. It's like, this is not.
Yeah,
it's not.
And
good.
I think that's what killed black IPA. Black IPA had a great Back in Black from the 2-1A. That was phenomenal. There were a few other ones that were great, but people tried to do this commercially on a homebrew level, and that roast malt doesn't match with a lot of things.
Yes. And
that was a time when the citrus hops were super popular, before the sort of the tropical, Pacific Island, New Zealand hops kind of came out, and that citrus and roast just doesn't work. I brewed one myself, and I'm like, I poured half of it out. It didn't work.
But this does.
This works super good.
Yeah.
And that's because the color and the flavor is not a roast toast dark malt. There is it's not a super dark malt focused beer, but you get some of that character. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this right. I do get a little bit of dark malt flavor, but it's not roast or toast. And that's why this beer works.
Yeah, it's almost like sharp, like bitter chocolate, but not chocolate, but it's that. Yeah. It's the bitter quality of like a cocoa or something like that.
I get that maybe
with
there's
sweetness in there.
And I'm going to guess there's some chocolate or pale chocolate malt in here, because
I would guess too.
That's such a great malt for so many reasons. And it doesn't have the roast or the toast. And that's the stuff, you get to that level of roasting of the malt, and something in that flavor just clashes with the citrus. But it's like if you have like a piece of chocolate, you go to the candy store, like the good candy store where you don't go very often because it's freaking expensive.
Look at Shar. When your grandma gives you a nickel and says, "Go to the candy store."
I had 5
Bring me the
Bs.
change.
He used to say 5 Bs for a nickel. You put an onion on your belt back in the day. It was a style.
You can afford as many chocolate bars as you want.
That's right.
You go to like a good chocolate store with candy, and the dark chocolate and orange works. And I think people tried that with black IPA, and the carrot, because roast malt is different from dark chocolate. Jason, that's your point. I think
I see
you're
what
right.
You're saying. Yeah, it needs to be a milk chocolate if you do with the
like a cocoa or something. Yeah. That with citrus is different from a roast malt with citrus. And I get much more of the candy kind of chocolate with citrus with this than I would with a dark malt with citrus. So there's no off flavors here. It's well attenuated. Bitterness, maybe a little bit low for an IPA. I think it balances. I might have wanted maybe a little bit more bitterness, but that's kind of a quibble. It's overall, I think it's probably okay. Well attenuated. Finish is long and balanced. I don't get as much rye flavor in this as I did in the aroma, but still it tastes great. 15 out of 20 for flavor. I think that's still pretty good. 5 out of 5 for mouthfeel. Body's medium high, medium carbonation. Definitely warming. For a beer that's this big, I get, and for IPA, it's more creamy than astringent. It's more creamy than perky. This is just a really smooth drinking, I think very, very well-balanced beer. And I appreciate that a lot. Overall impression 8 for a total of 40. This is a rare time Cooper and I did not coordinate, so I'll be curious what Cooper says. We're usually like a point apart, even though we're without anything, without any previous communication. I like this beer a lot. There's no off flavors. The rye is present. It's noticeable, but it's not overwhelming. Sometimes rye, people want to just make that statement with rye, and it becomes a hell of a mash and a 20-hour brew day and crazy stuff like that. It's present in the aroma. I get it in the flavor. I might want a little more flavor of rye, so I might suggest upping the rye. If I had a suggestion, up the rye a little bit, and also up the hop bitterness a little bit, because I love this beer. It's an Imperial IPA. And it's a 40. I mean, 40 is excellent, right? It's a good score. Anything in the 40s is good. This is a really, really good beer. In competition, if you wanted to really beat the category and go to best of show, I might up the bitterness some and up the rye some. But man, you have this pretty much dialed in. This is close, and I think it's easily something that could be, at least advanced to best of show and be advanced in the category to first place as it is. So thank you very much for sharing with us. I really enjoyed drinking this, and I'll probably drink some more of this while Ashley will drink more of this while Cooper is talking about it.
There we go. All right, Coop.
All right.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Show them how it's done.
Yeah. So getting into the aroma, it does have a pleasant, rich malt. I'm getting a very light, and this was before I started tasting smoked beers, a light smoky element to it. Just a light kind of phenolic edge, but not medicinal or like, defective kind of phenolic flavors, but just from the richness of the dark malt in there. Medium low esters, ale esters, clean ale going on here. Medium citrusy resiny hops. I was getting more kind of on the resiny side than, some citrusy, but more leaning towards the classic C hops, that kind of a thing. But yeah, there's a little bit of an edge to the nose that is, I keep grasping at what it might be. I don't know. There's like a chocolatey, beany, cocoa-y character to it. I almost wondered if there was like a faint acetaldehyde or something, like a pumpkin skin in the nose. There was something just a little sharp in there that's other than hops and malt, but I'm not convinced it's acetaldehyde. I'm debating that in my head still. But the spiciness is medium in the nose, just a nice, kind of medium light, spicy rye quality.
I know what you're saying, just to interrupt, because I've had beers.
Sharp.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think that's part of, going back to what Shar said, I think that's sort of part of why black IPA isn't as popular anymore, because I think the dark malts with those bright hops can play different ways, and the different flavors can blend, and it can produce something that isn't a flaw. Like, I agree, it's not acetaldehyde.
No.
But it's almost, there can be almost like a sweet tartness.
It's like,
there's an edge.
It's like
I think
amplified resin. It's like just like there's something in a you're getting to the
yeah, like you know how sometimes like dark chocolate can be too dark and it's almost like it just sucks the moisture out.
yeah.
It's like it, and that's not what I'm saying the flavors in this beer, but there is a component where sometimes if you maybe can have too much of a thing, it goes over and turns into a new thing. So maybe that combined with the new school hops sort of creates its own flavor thing that's reminiscent of that green apple, but it's not.
And as I was smelling it, it's like, okay, this is an imperial. That's probably just it's a spicy alcohol.
Yeah.
And when I get into the flavor, it's going to be harsh and gnarly. But in the flavor, it's not. It's different. But I'll get to that.
I think you're right. I think it's imperial. I think it's a concentration of the darker malts with the increase in the sort of resiny hops.
Yeah.
That's combining in a funky way.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
But I agree with you. It's not a flaw. I don't think it's a fermentation issue or anything like that.
Yeah, this beer is very dark, but it is pretty much opaque. It does look fairly hazy to me. I don't see it clear at the corners like you do on a well clarified dark beer, but it might just be that we recently transported these beers like yesterday, and I might have been tipping sideways in my beer fridge out there. So
yeah, it got to my house at like 6 or 7 last night, and it got in my fridge at midnight. So there's easily some transport issues with this beer.
We'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We'll call it clearish, but we don't know because it's so dark. It looks a little hazy, but the head's okay, stays very well. Medium tan colored head. The head is actually really nice. It's well formed. It's tight bubbles. Then in the flavor, just there's this really nice hoppy presence, citrus and some resin, and the citrus kind of pops out a little more in the flavor. Clean, rich, malty quality here. It's not burnt at all in the flavor. Nice job keeping it clean and not rough. But what I do get is a pretty rich cocoa-like chocolatey flavor. The dark malt here is not expressing like we just used a little bit of Carafa 3 here to color it, and that's all we did, and it's just enough to make it a little bit dark and brown.
Why is my phone?
Yeah, the Carafa 3.
Behave.
I mean, it's got a use, but I'm not a fan.
Hold on. I can't turn my phone off.
Throw it.
Jesus Christ. Whatever. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not a fan of making like a regular IPA and adding Carafa 3 and calling it a black IPA. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there's plenty of malts that you can use that are more on the chocolate side, like we're talking about, that are, give you the color, but give you some flavor. Anyway, Brian, I'm sorry to butt into your judging part.
I'm never working with you again, Brian.
Damn it. It's all my fault.
That I'm logging off right now. You just interrupted my mojo, bro. That's not cool.
No, sounds real gross too.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. JP. Okay. Back to the flavor considerations. It's pretty smooth considering all that's going on here. The very substantial alcohol strength that is here. It's leaning towards slightly hot, but really not too harsh. Just a really warm malt, cocoa-like. The fruitiness is kind of there, but it's a little subdued. It's not like raisiny or anything like that. It's just kind of there's enough bitterness there to keep it balanced. But most of the bitterness seems to be coming from the malt, and its richness of rich dark chocolate. It's not ashy. I'm getting a lot of like umami in this beer. And I don't know if there's yeast in suspension, but there's like a lot of an umami, like kind of medium high meatiness to it, like a richness.
Yeah.
Might be yeast roused into suspension. Maybe it's a bottle conditioned beer and we just abused it and shook it up too much.
That's a good point. It's not like it's umami, but it's not like soy sauce. And soy sauce is like that tells you there's yeast autolysis and it's old. Yeah. But it's a different type of umami, and I totally agree with you on that.
It's not like oxidized bad umami. It's actually kind of good with the flavors that are going on here. So
what I used to get in my Imperial Porter recipe when I first started working on it was Kalamata olive, where you have too much of that dark malt.
That's a great descriptor.
Tart Kalamata olive thing, and it's like it's unmistakable.
Wow, I love Kalamata olives, but that's not a thing you should have in beer, and that's a great descriptor for that.
Thank you. It's like briny, whatever. But this isn't that again. And it's like you need that balance, that deft hand of the malt, which I think again is where Black IPA fell apart as a style because everyone tried to push it too far. Yeah,
this beer it finishes a bit, kind of medium sweet, not dry, but like between semi-dry and medium sweetness. But yeah, the alcohol definitely plays a big part there too, and that's part of the whole package. But
It's good. I don't drink imperial beers. I don't drink IPAs. I don't drink imperial IPAs. I've had half a bottle of this. I don't like that. Ben, I don't like you for doing this to me.
making a convert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mouthfeel wise, very obvious alcohol warmth here that goes down the back of the throat and warms, but it's not intensely hot. Medium carbonation, no obvious astringency. There's a little edge, from the alcohol and everything that's going on here. But it's fairly smooth. It's somewhat creamy. There's so much going on, and you get the bite from the acidic malts that kind of attacks the palate. And mouthfeel wise, I rated it a little lower just because it does have a bite and it's a little warmer than I would like it. The flavor of the alcohol is quite good. It's a little sharp in the aroma alongside everything else. I don't know where the ABV is on this. If I had to guess, it might be like a 10 and a half. I don't know, but it's a big one. Overall, the beer has a great balance of hop to malt. I really like that, and it is, the elements are playing well together, and that, like Brian said, the hops aren't really clashing with the malt. It's this, usually you just get that rich, the edgy carafa thing with the hop, and sometimes they clash a little bit. But the dark cocoa, like in this one, blending with the resiny hops, it actually works pretty well. It's playing a little more like maybe it was inspired by the Wookie Jack. I don't know, but a little towards that way, but it's a twist from that for sure. You could cool off the heat of the alcohol a little bit. I'm sure you care for your fermentation. This is obviously not an abused or a flawed fermentation going on, but even a little higher pitch, a little higher oxygen at first, just to get that fermentation a little happier, and maybe bring the level of the alcohol down just a little bit. It's got plenty here. We don't need any more. A little less wouldn't hurt. I always want more hops, so just increasing the hops even more. I know Brian and JP got plenty of that, but I always want more. I always want my black IPAs to smell like an IPA.
I agree.
They never do. It's just
I agree. That's why I was a little bit more aroma hop might be welcome. I let mine out sit for a long time before I tasted it, and I think warming made that hop aroma come out more. But more hop aroma wouldn't be a bad thing at all.
But yeah, I think that maybe the conundrum you're having is like it's a chocolate dark IPA, a chocolate black IPA with rye. If you refocus the malts, you really want to go for imperial rye IPA. Back off the cocoa-like flavors, whatever is in there making that. I wondered if you use like some chocolate rye malt or something in there. I don't want to guess ingredients, but there's something really chocolatey in there, and the rye is there. I would leave the rye level as it is, but if the rye is coming from a chocolate rye, you could pull that back a little bit and bring up the rye. But refocus the darkest malts. It's a really pleasant beer to drink. To me, it's very good, but it's just like there's a little balance issues, and the appearance and the mouthfeel could use a little bit of work. I landed at a 36.
Wow, we're still blindly 4 points away, man. Like always.
What did you give it, Shar?
40.
Okay.
What about you, JP?
I wasn't gonna pour any more, but now I have to. Let me get a little shot.
Hoppy beer, hoppy beer.
Yeah, I think a 36, 38. There is a creaminess. I do want it a little more, but then I forget it's an imperial. So I don't really know. If you gave me this thing, if you married me this beer, pre-smoke beer 2-hour session, I would think about it. It's imperial, so I don't think it needs to be super cut and dry. Maybe that's a beer pun. So it could be some creaminess, it could be some more sweetness. That's fine. Yeah, I would go 40. I would agree with Shar. I think I would go 40. I do want a little more aroma. I want a lot more aroma. I want this to punch me in the dick with aroma. I would never have said that. Usually,
I'll come over to your place and punch you in the dick tomorrow, man. Come on, what do you want?
Wow, you want to touch me? Anyway,
with pants on, of course. I'm not gay.
I do want a little more aroma. Out of it. And the creaminess is. I don't know if this beer works as an imperial black IPA because there's a creaminess that I don't necessarily enjoy. It tastes good. You know what I mean? It's not a flaw fermentation wise or yeast wise or whatever, but I think it's a recipe thing. I want a little more dry, and I think these beers drink better dry, especially the rye versions, because you want to help accentuate the rye. And I'm saying this as fact, and I want you guys to comment.
Maybe it's not as attenuated, not an attenuation issue, but maybe it's I get what you're saying on that. Yeah,
reducing
it should be slightly drier.
Reducing the alcohol would achieve that just a bit, because it's very alcoholic.
Yeah,
I mean, not partially, but it's.
But I tell you what, I love the flavor of the malt. I do agree with you, Cooper. I want a little more. I want actually kind of a lot more rye flavor out of this, or maybe it was Char that said it. But the way, Ben, that you have the hops and the malt working together, and I'm not just blowing smoke, just to pull from the last episode. But I think it's a blend that you don't really see in this style very often, and I think this is what the style should be. Even though it's a 40 beer for me, this is what the style should be. This is 80% there, maybe 90% to what I think if other breweries figured it out to this level, I think we'd see more of this style. And I'm being completely sincere and slightly drunk about it.
No, to me though,
I agree with you. I agree with you a lot.
Of course you do. The only thing to me is the thing in the nose.
I want to keep my job. No, my non-paying Dr. Homebrew job. Yes.
Oh, yes. Cooper just called Char a simp for me, and I love it.
No, I mean, it's just, to me, it's the thing in the nose. Like everything else, flavor wise, it's pretty good. Appearance wise, you clear it up, or we messed that up. That's on us possibly. But in the mouthfeel, it's a little too alcoholic, just a little too sharp.
Yeah.
And the nose thing, I think it could still be a little acetaldehyde or something in there. There's so much else going on here. It's really hard to pick out things like a light acetaldehyde in a beer like this, because it's already a spicy beer. It's already got esters, from the ale fermentation. It's got rich, chocolatey things in the nose, and it's like there's so much going on. There's something a little sharp. It's not a phenolic, but the only thing I'm going at is acetaldehyde, just a very light acetaldehyde, possibly.
Let's do this. Let's take a break. Ben is talking way too much. I want him to calm down a little bit.
Right.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to chat with Ben about his beer and get some recipe and all that kind of stuff. So hang on, everyone. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back.
What's up, homebrewers? Hey, let me ask you a question. You spend a lot of time making your beer taste the way you want it to, right? Some of you even send beers into Dr. Homebrew for feedback. Well, the next logical step in your creativity is to craft some labels for those beers. And there's nobody better at creative labels than GrogTag. Their easy-to-use designs let you turn out some pretty amazing stuff like labels, bottle caps, coasters, even six-pack carriers with minimal effort on your part. They have a range of label sizes that fit any vessel you can think of. Bottles, cans, growlers, kegs. GrogTag has you covered. Head over to grogtag.com today and check out their line of amazing, fully customizable templates and get your beer looking its best. GrogTags are water resistant, reusable, and will have your naked bottles looking great in no time. That's grogtag.com, and be sure to use code BNARMY at checkout to save 10% on your order.
Now, back to the examination.
All right, thanks for hanging on, buddy. Ben, all right, you've had some time to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what do you think about the feedback and the scores, and what's your take on the beer? And then let's talk about recipe and see how we can do that.
Yeah, no, I think you guys, I like the feedback. It a lot of the stuff kind of reinforced what I'm getting out of it, but also it's fascinating. You guys are incredibly consistent. I sent you another version of this beer 3 years ago, maybe.
Wow. Okay. Well, welcome back.
And and
are you in a homebrew club?
No.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we forgot about that.
Yes, still not in a homebrew club. But the changes in this version are like exactly the opposite of what you recommended last time. And
what did you say last time? Refresh us real fast.
You said make it hoppier and take the alcohol down.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
But
and you didn't do.
And instead, you dropped the hops and brought the alcohol up.
Yeah, and the score is
as a 40-pointer now. Yeah, do the opposite of what we say at Dr. Homebrew. Exactly, all the time.
the
The score went down.
So
Okay.
you guys are consistent. You're 100% consistent there.
Love it.
But I don't know. The idea behind this beer wasn't really recipe driven. It was more. I wanted to try a I don't know what you call it, a double mash or whatnot. So you do a
Decoction?
mash. No, but you
The
take
Partaguile?
yeah,
First runnings, last runnings.
yeah, exactly. So you
Hmm.
take the wort from one mash and you use that to do a second mash. So
Okay.
it's a way to get higher gravity if your mash tun isn't big enough. Essentially,
That's advanced homebrewing for me.
So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that actually hurts me to think about.
We can't
Yeah.
talk
That's all right.
about that kind of concept on this
Yeah,
show.
because I go like, but how much sugar is in there? Then would you take that? Would you make a small
Right.
beer from the first mash? Like what? Like it's just a lot of moving parts in that.
well,
This is
that
too
was part of it.
advanced
Yeah,
for our
yeah.
listeners. We're going to have to move on.
Yeah, there you go, Ben. You see, you got me.
Yeah, no, but it was. I didn't really think too hard about the recipe. So,
Okay, fair
um,
enough.
a lot of it
Good
was
for you,
driven-
man.
Yeah, a lot of it was driven. Just I couldn't up the hops equivalent to what I did to the rest of the beer, so the hops went down a little bit, and
Okay.
and the gravity's high just because of the nature of what I was trying to do. So, you guys want the recipe or?
Yeah,
Yes,
give it to us.
please.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a 5-gallon batch. And like I'm giving you cumulative totals. This was split in half between two mashes, but 25 pounds of 2-row, 6 pounds of rye, 8 ounces Carafa 3, 8 ounces caramel rye, 8 ounces chocolate wheat. And then an ounce of
Wow.
Warrior at 60 minutes and an ounce of Citra at 45 minutes, 2 ounces Amarillo at 15 minutes, an ounce of Citra at 15 minutes, and then 2 ounces each Amarillo and Citra for a whirlpool, and then dry hopped 4 ounces each Amarillo and Citra.
And what size batch?
5 gallons.
Okay. Wow, that's a
Yeah,
lot of hops.
I love Amarillo hops, and they are so grapefruity, citrus, and I'm definitely that's the citrus that I'm getting
Mhm.
from that. And
Yeah.
Citra is a great hop too, but I remain. I remember Amarillo was a new hop, and
Mhm.
and now it's not quite a new fancy
Yeah.
hop, but it's
Back then,
so,
it was a sub for
Yeah.
Cascade. If you couldn't
Exactly.
find Cascade, bring in the Amarillo.
exactly.
Yeah.
But Amarillo has such a wonderful grapefruit and citrus character that I'm not surprised that's what I'm getting right here.
Yeah.
So what I'm honing in on is the it was the caramel rye and the chocolate wheat.
I agree.
That's interesting because this is for
Really
a rye for a black IPA. This has a lot more in the middle malt category. Like again, I think of like malts as like a stereo like equalizer. Is the lows are often like pulled all the way out where you get that like you're listening to music and all you hear is the highs and the bass is and it's like this has the middle buzz to it, like it's equalized more flat, like maybe slightly scooped, but it's still there's like something rich in the middle that's coming up where it's like, okay, I didn't get like overt carameliness, but I got a lot of chocolate.
I
You
did
got
too.
that Marantz equalizer with that mid range up all the 10, and everything else kind of goes off the sides. Yeah, the bell curve. Exactly.
Yeah. I've done it with all Carafa and caramel rye and Carafa, and it comes out a little sharper, a little more roasty. And so I think the chocolate wheat maybe rounds it out a little bit, but it's still maybe more chocolatey than I'd like it to be.
I think the chocolate
Frankly,
wheat is
I like the chocolate compared to the roast. This
Yeah.
should not be a roast beer.
Yeah.
I like the chocolate here. Coop, what do you think?
I think that the chocolate is bringing something to the table that is pleasant with the hops you have going on.
Yes.
But I don't know if you need the caramel. Like you could just use straight rye alongside the chocolate wheat. Maybe leave that at the same level or slightly lower. Use a little Carafa. Just work with the way you use it too. Like a lot of times you just need to let the darkest like dehusked malt just breathe on the mash and it'll get it dark enough. Or
Excellent point.
Or sparge through it, just like if you have a setup
Throw it
where
on
you
the
just like,
top.
I don't know if you're recircling or what you're doing, but like, yeah, just throw it on the top at the end of your mash and let it go, give it the color there, but not extract a lot of that rich harshness that you get from that super burnt malt.
Yeah.
Just the interior of the malt. The husks aren't the only thing that give it harshness. Harshness, but like dark malt level wise, it's not biting too hard like some of them do. And that's one of the things that's really nice about this beer. It's got the middle malt, it's got the dark edge. It's very dark. It's plenty dark. You could lighten that up, by a quarter and it would still be plenty dark. But yeah, just work on the recipe and listen to our earlier advice. Damn it. Why did you? I'll stop here.
Stupid early Dr. Homebrew advice from 3 years ago. Damn it.
Yeah. We're all clearly parents, right?
Pick your original recipe where it was.
We let you make your own mistakes.
Reduce the alcohol and add in that nice chocolate wheat malt that you did. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And just so it started at 11:20 gravity.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And
Are you serious? 11:20.
It finished at about 10:30.
Oh my
It did not feel that alcoholic,
No.
but man, this is probably like a 12% beer.
11,
13%.
I think Beersmith says 13.
Wow.
Damn it. My wife
Does
is going to
not
hate
taste
me.
that does not taste hot like that.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I mean, maybe no, it doesn't. It doesn't because of that creaminess in the middle. Like, man, if you're going for a beer like this is what you want to do.
Exactly.
I don't know how you got it that way, but it's because that creaminess, I think, blends in with that, or actually I should say the alcohol sweetness blends in with that creamy thing that you got going on where it hides it extraordinarily well.
Yeah. Like ethanol can come off sweet or harsh at this level, and you want it to be sweet, and it comes off sweet, and it blends with the malt, so you don't. It kind of sucks you in, and without realizing it's 13%. So the bad ones of this style are harsh, and you're like, oh God, I know it's very strong. I won't drink a lot. This will suck you in.
Absolutely.
I noticed a little bit of the hot. I judged it again before all the smoke beers. It's very obviously alcoholic. I was like 10 and a half. No, okay. I was off there, but wow, it hides 13,
it well, man. But well done.
Noticeably, I get it more in the warming than I get it in the flavor. And that might be the spiciness I'm getting in the aroma combined with the rye, combined with the hops to make that kind of what I felt like might be acetaldehyde or something. But like there's a sharpness in that nose. It's just like, boom, there's some octane in here.
Yeah.
You know, Ben, I think you'd be good at brewing smoke beers. Honestly, because you have that. It's that what I get from all these smoke beers from Schlenkerla is, which is also easier to say as you drink more.
Yeah.
Schlenkerla, how is it going to drink to Schlenkerla?
Schlenkerla.
It's sort of like a creamy, blendy mouthfeel. Maybe not the Märzen so much, but like everything else, like the Lint beer I'm drinking right now out of the can because I can't reseal it. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder, what is that? Do you think is it his water? Did you treat your water at all?
Only the first mash. Oh, okay. Here's a question for you. So I do kind of mess around with my water from time to time. And with dark beers, it seems like the general recommendation is just to make sure your mash is at an appropriate pH, but you don't really need to acidify sparge water or any of that. But the finished pH of my beers comes out pretty high. Like I think this one might be right around 5. And so do you think that's contributing anything to the overall, perception of the beer?
So let's talk mineral wise and then acid wise. I think mineral wise, your minerals seem to be at a pretty good level. There's something there accenting the bitterness.
My normal
sulfate.
water, my normal water is pretty chloride heavy. It's pretty
Okay.
it's probably 2 to 1 chloride to sulfate.
Okay, and that might be what's lending it the smoothness that you're getting here.
That might be to your benefit for this beer, right? Because darker beers tend to benefit for waters that are more chloride heavy, right? Right, Coop?
It's going to accent the malty sweetness that you have, and that it's making if you added a lot of sulfate to it, it's going to get like chalkier and harsher and more biting, and that's going to make it seem much more bitter than it is, or the bitterness that is there seem much more harsh than it is. So yeah, that acidity wise, I don't think it's like too acidic or too. It doesn't see, I don't detect the higher pH.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of acidity from the dark malts there. I don't know if you need to acidify your sparge water or anything there. It's probably fine. I'll keep that.
I agree with that. I think you're right.
Yeah, me too, man. What do we think? Anything else? Ben, you got something else you want to work on, or?
What do you think what flavors, how do you think this beer would change with age? Considering it's so big, it probably could hold up, but what flavors in there do you think will,
I think if you age this beer, it's going to taste really great, but I think it'll be more of a barley wine.
I agree.
And
The
I
black
think that
barley
the
wine.
rye, and if you want to make like a hoppy, like I'm making an Imperial IPA, you want it to be fresh and you want it to have that rye and that bitterness and that hops pop. And I think if you age it, it'll be fucking great. So excuse me, but I think it'll be great. 2 years from now, this will be a great beer. But I think you want to call this a barley wine at that point.
But I don't even
Especially
know.
at 13%.
Yeah, I would be interested, honestly. Do you have more of this left in bottles, Ben?
I have a little bit in a keg.
I would please bottle some, like maybe
Yeah,
even just 2
bottle
or
it,
3.
bottle it now.
And save it. And
seriously.
even just like send us an email on how it changes. And I would keep it for a year. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in my
Or 2
opinion,
years,
I think
even.
it would be too too much roast. I think it would be over the classification of a barley wine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would still be very, very good
Well, I
because
think
it's
that
already kind of sweet and creamy and whatever. And like, I feel like, I don't know, I think it would be good, but I don't think it would be barley wine. I think it'd be a whole different thing.
I don't know.
Cooper,
I
go
just
ahead.
worry that it's going to go too quick towards soy sauce if you leave it too long.
Okay.
After
That could
6
be.
months, it might start going in that direction.
Because all
but-
that dark grain and stuff
There
like
is umami here
umami.
already. The umami can go soy, and soy means it's too old. Maybe in
But
a
if it's
year,
in a
call
keg,
it
if
barley
it-
wine and enter it. You know,
Yeah. If it's in a keg, it's probably less prone to that because if it was in bottles, there's going to be more oxygen. You're going to have a problem with that. But in the keg, you might just let that keg sit, taste it in a few months, see where it's going. And say, oh, okay, do I want to drink this now or let it go another few months and taste it again?
Yeah, if you were a commercial brewer, I would say if it went soy sauce, just use the soy face meme as your label, and then that's perfect marketing. I'm actually surprised no one's done it. I had a question and I fucking lost it. How old is this beer?
It is from, I don't know if that's accurate. My notes say it's from the end of February.
wow. So this is like a 4-month-old beer. Nice, well done, man. There's no I got no oxidation. I got no off flavors.
Yeah.
It's a 13%. Yeah, I think some.
How
Like JP says, age, put a bottle or two on the shelf for a year
just curiosity
and to
sake.
see what happens. Don't send it to us. Just do it for yourself, man.
And do you guys think this is in the correct category as it is now?
It's in specialty IPA, right?
I guess.
So
Yeah,
that
we're
can
all-
be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it
you
is.
define it as it is. There's a lot going on here. Imperial, rye, black IPA. There's a lot going on here, and it has all those things. It's definitely imperial. There's definitely rye here.
Is there definitely rye?
Black.
Can you taste the rye? Like if he omited the word rye out of this, would you
I
notice?
taste the rye. I taste the rye.
Okay.
I
I
guess
smell the
spices-
rye more than I taste it.
It
There's
may
6
be a
pounds of
com-
it in there.
It may be a combination of the alcohol with the rye that's there, but there's definite spiciness to it. But I think if you lighten up some of those middle
Mhm.
malts a little bit, it's going to let that rye shine a little better and just get some of that.
Yeah.
You don't have to scoop the equalizer out, so it's just like Metallica. But go for Guns N' Roses. You'll be fine.
Nice.
You might brew this in November in a cold November rain and see how that works out for you.
There you go.
And then French kiss a woman for 4 hours in the video. that you made for
Perfect.
it.
Yes.
Exactly. In the desert by some church in Ansel Adams. So that's good.
All right.
That's
Well,
our
Ben,
advice.
if that's it, we'll let you go.
I'm good.
Let's
Thanks,
just split.
guys.
All right, brother.
Ben,
Thanks,
thank you for sharing your beer with us. We really appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank
Send
you.
us another
Yeah.
one in another less than 3 years from now, please.
Yeah, please do, and we'll see you. I think next show, whenever we record that for you, have a Blondale coming up.
Are you
All
going to
right.
HomebrewCon?
Yeah,
And
Are you
no,
going to
down?
Homebrew?
no.
No. Oh, okay. All right. Next
Good.
time.
I'll try to listen to your advice next time on how to fix the beer.
Please do.
All right. Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
brother.
Ben.
Take it easy.
Yep.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come right back, and we have a commercial beer to drink. And so, hang on, everyone. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
The leader in affordable, high-quality kegerators is here. Introducing Komos, the kegerator designed with serious beer drinkers in mind. It features an all-stainless steel draft tower, a major upgrade over traditional chrome-plated brass towers, and Komos keeps your new tower cold with their air-cooled tower fan, wrapping your beer lines in frigid coolness. Your beer is poured from innovative forward-sealing faucets that don't leak, so they stay cleaner for longer. Dual gas inlets on the rear of the fridge allow you to run both CO2 and nitrogen gas. Serve your beer with CO2, serve your kegged wine, or even cocktails with nitrogen. The digital temperature display has the largest range available, allowing you to use the Komos Kegerator for fermentation if you need to. And now Komos Kegerators ship with duo-tight draft fittings for that click-to-connect assembly we've all dreamed of. Buy direct from KomosDraft.com and receive free shipping on your order. That's KOMOS Draft.com.
Dr. Homebrew, please report to the ER for a code blue. Dr. Homebrew to the ER, please. No, and your tea time has been moved to 2:30.
Hey, all right, welcome back, everybody. We are on the second seggy here of the show, and we are going to be drinking, I don't even want to say an IPL because I'm afraid I'm going to vomit. I don't know why.
Don't vomit.
There's
Well, maybe you should. That's like good podcasting, right?
Yes,
Well,
definitely.
it does say India Pale Lager on the can, so
Well, and I know
Say that.
Koopa Loop is very sensitive because this is a beer from Altamont, and we love the Altamont guys. Don't get me wrong. This is not a disparaging remark on the Altamont boys at all. But Cooper is very protective of Altamont, and
No.
so I like to make fun of him for it.
they're just another brewery. That's fine.
No,
They're a good
don't.
brewery.
No,
They're
when you
good
were
guys.
here and you told me this is an IPL, and I laughed in your face, you dropped to one knee and wept. You're like,
Yeah,
please, sir,
there was
please don't
that.
comment this about it. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to.
Don't hate
And-
on the beer before you taste it.
I held you and I dried your eyes, and I said, it's gonna be okay, my little cherub.
Wow,
It's gonna be great.
this is
No.
kind of show, huh?
No,
This is
IPL for one of those reasons, and I'm not alone in this. Is it's a weird style designation that never really caught on. That was kind of
No.
weird.
Yeah.
And it
Give me
didn't.
that.
Yeah, it was just weird, and it sort of like fell apart. And the Cold
Yeah.
IPA, and there's been some debate whether or not Cold IPA is
Well-
just an IPL or not, and
No.
I don't think that it is.
Here's the thing. IPL, it came out as basically a lager version of any brewery's IPA. It's like, oh, well, let's do our IPA as a lager and just, use lager yeast and we'll ferment it cold and lager it for 1 week or 2 weeks and add the same amount of hops and da-da-da-da-da. So just a lager version of an IPA recipe. And sometimes those come out just tasting like a little flat, a little thin. That's like it's a lager, but not designed as a lager. And they take longer to make and it's a pain in the ass for breweries. And then, they're fermented cold. The owners hate it. They hop it up, use the same amount of hops. And, the IPAs had already become a little lighter in color. So there wasn't like you had to lighten it up to make it a lager or something. It was just kind of there. And they share a lot of characteristics with modern IPAs, just without as much of the fruity esters. Same hop.
It's
same
kind of
beer.
like we had a black IPA, the first segment of the show. Black IPA and IPL were both things that they had merits and they were good beers, but they never quite caught on. And Cold IPA
Yes.
is maybe a way to rebrand IPL in a way, in a world where
Okay.
everyone wants IPA. You can make an IPL, you can call it a Cold IPA. And I get there's differences in the process, and that's I understand that. But for the community of consumers at large, to get a Cold IPA makes more sense to them than an IPL. Do you get what
Yes.
I'm saying?
I do.
Here's what I think that makes sense, and I'll try to decipher what you just said. But IPLs,
I don't. I'm not always the clearest person in the world.
okay,
Yeah, unlike this beer, by the way. Look, I mean, that's pretty clear beer.
it is pretty clear. It's
Yeah.
light and clear.
It
And
smells
just-
amazing.
Yeah,
Honest, I'm going to interrupt you, Cooper, because it's been that morning.
Yeah.
That is a lot lighter of a color than I would have expected from a beer called Cold IPA or IPL or whatever. It's very pale. This is like Bud Light pale, which is very impressive to get that color.
Agreed.
for
With
sure,
that
yeah.
aroma, like it's a very approachable beer.
Yeah, and well, actually, I mean, IPL or IPA. IPAs had already lightened up quite a bit, as you know, we came from tasting IPAs that were like, you know, rich amber color half the time, and you know, sometimes towards like gold.
All the
But-
caramel malts back in the 90s are the throwback IPA.
Yeah, and they got lightened up into the 2000s, and they were already there. And then along came, you know, some of these breweries like Altamont, and some of them that brew the, you know, the more modern IPA interpretation. And they were already light enough where you just like, so you make an IPL, it's light in color, you know, light in mouthfeel. Like it's a crisp and refreshing beer. It's low body, you know, light bodied, but so that, you know, a lot of them just took lager yeast and added the lager yeast, lagered it at cool temperatures. The problem I had with some of the earlier IPLs was that you would get so much sulfur in the beer from the lagering, and it would start to fight with the hops. And
Totally agree with you. You're exactly right.
And like, okay, it's a lager without the pleasant qualities of lager. It wasn't lagered long enough to get all those sulfurs to kind of back out and mellow out with just 1 or 2 weeks of lagering or whatever they would use.
So sulfur and hops don't play well together.
Yeah,
typically.
it's like an eggy hop. Okay, great. I don't know what to do with
eggy.
that.
Oh, it's an eggy hop. I want that in a beer. I want to drink eggs and hops. Yeah, no, not at all.
Right. I mean, they had plenty of emphasis on late hopping, so there was enough to cover up some of that. You know, some of the new hop varieties that had come out, you know, they would lean a little more tropical sometimes into a pale lager. But so, you know, that's one thing. And they would, you know, they'd probably use like, you know, corn sugar to lighten up the body. Get it to ferment out nice and dry like an IPA should be. Okay, so what's the difference between IPA, IPL, cold IPA? To me, yeah, they're all served cold. That's the common thread.
Yeah. Well, and that's really the point of our segment right now. Is like figuring out the differences and figuring out what this is, because Cooper, when you brought this, you know, you were very much explaining like it's branded in both.
Well, I made a whole presentation for my club called "What the hell is cold IPA?" But yeah, it's like,
all right,
what the hell?
I get some dankiness in the aroma. I get a little fruitiness,
which I think is a lot of Altamont's signature. Like they were like the local brewery around here that was able to pick up on that and sort of like run with that.
Yeah, they like the dank flavor. Altamont. Yeah,
right. So hops wise, I believe they're using Citra and summer hops, but it's, you know, this is the beer that they released every year, and this was their initial IPL that they brewed, and they named their other beers Fuel series, and they like Freedom Fuel was released around the 4th of July. We're leading up to the 4th of July here, and it was, you know, they put it out every season as we're getting towards that, and just have some fun with it. But they started brewing in the Fuel series. They would add single hop fuel beers, and, you know, make the IPL with just Citra or, you know, what have you. But this one, they're starting to call it a cold IPA, and I think that it was brewed before cold IPA came into vogue or became even a thing, and when Wayfinder, you know, created their cold IPA. But what happened was the cold IPA was developed and started making the malt bill a little more like a standard lager, like a adjunct laden rice or corn flaked adjunct laden beer. Yeah. That would lighten up the body without adding a lot of flavor, and lighten up the color, and just keep everything out of the way of the hops, pretty much. And instead of just taking a IPA and brewing it as in a colder temperature with lager yeast, you can still use lager yeast, but you could brew it towards an ale temperature at 60 degrees, or you could use a Kolsch yeast and brew it, in low 60s or wherever you want to, your yeast is going to be happy without kicking out a lot of weird flavors, and have it just be kind of neutral. Like a Kolsch is light and crisp, and you get a little bit of hop in a Kolsch, and you can really taste it. It's still a malty beer generally, but on the IPL side, it's, you get that too much sulfur because it's just fermented a little too cold, whereas cold IPA, it's fermented kind of in that middle zone where it's like, okay, this is an ale. It still plays as an ale, IPA, ale, but it's, it's cold IPA. It's a little cooler fermented, and it has that I call it like an American standard lager grist on steroids, because you're just using, it's like Usually they're boosted up to about 7%. So you still have, you know, fairly substantial alcohol presence. You have, you know, a lot of hops there, same amount of hops or even more than you would with an IPA, driven even more towards the whirlpool and the dry hop additions, and just accent that. You want the hops to shine through, and that's all you're really trying to do.
Yeah, hops are on steroids. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, just reducing the fruitiness and get rid of that sulfury character. And that's what Cold IPA is striving to do. And
yeah, the sulfur that comes from, I think, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Coop, but I think part of the thing with Cold IPA versus IPL is the avoidance of that sulfur from lager yeast, and perhaps trying to do more of a steam beer type of thing where you're taking ale yeast down to a lower than ale yeast temperature, so you don't generate sulfur, but you have more of a lager-like, you know, quote unquote character to it. Am I right in my discussion?
You want the crispness of the lager. You want that like nice, like quenching quality of it, you know, with a little more alcohol. It's and the alcohol helps it play more like an IPA, because all IPAs these days are up towards 7%. Otherwise, you're a pale ale. You know,
well, double IPA is 9%. Come on, triple's like 14,
11,
yeah.
13.
Is another reason to stay away from them.
So, I mean, it's just designed to be a hop delivery mechanism. So, you know, Kevin Davey from Wayfinder started this style, you know,
which I interviewed on the session a couple of years ago. You go check that out.
Like,
it's a great,
I remember that.
It's
a good show.
I don't know what the year it was, like 5 or so years ago, I think. Yeah. But you know, the Cold IPA recipe, it's, you know, it's US grown, high nitrogen pale malt, rice flakes or rice flour, and you know, just a little bit of bittering hop in the boil kettle or isomerized hop extract. You could use, you know, so I mean, they give the recipe. You can find it if you search for it. And you know, there's Magnum for bittering and isomerized extract. Mosaic and Centennial, Mosaic and Centennial again in the whirlpool, you know, so, and then, you know, fermented at like medium, actually like more like 65, some of them ferment at 60 Cold IPAs, but you know.
I just blended some of the Lent beer from Schlinkerla into this.
Wait,
it's fucking
you
delicious.
blended? That's like Coop's job, man.
It's fucking delicious, man.
I would never blend that.
It's so good. It's so delicious.
You take that Lenten beer, which is already a blend, you blend that into something else, dude. That's like Cooper territory.
I'm opening my own brewery now. It's almost like a bigger version of what's that? Grodzisky.
Yeah, you'll do nothing but Grodzisky's and milds and call it "I Hate Everything" Brewery.
Yeah, and I would be open for about 4 seconds.
I love your plan. It's a good plan.
The bank took me over.
I meant to ask Matthias about Grodzisky's and like the smoked beers like coming up these days.
Dude,
because
I bet
I would have
get him
loved
back
to talk to him about that. But oh my god, that guy was two and a half hours of straight knowledge.
It is a trend
these
days.
Yep.
Smoked beers.
Anyway, go ahead, Cooper. Sorry. Rice flour, which seems like it would be hard to add. So you add it in the mash.
But you probably have to use more. I don't know. Right?
Do you want to
use something with it?
Yeah. Would you use like straight up flour? You know, whatever kind, wheat or barley or whatever. Would you use that in the mash? Would you do that, or would you just stick to the grain as a brewer?
I agree with you. I'd be worried about that.
Yeah.
Just why not use just rice flakes and keep it simpler?
Yeah. Well, you know, and that sort of like leads me to our discussion. I just published a couple of days ago the Mexican lager episode that we did, where we talked about our Mexican lager recipe, and I emailed Chris Graham, and you know, he said because I was specifically talking about heritage corn.
Yeah.
And you know, I was like, I'm looking for flaked heritage corn, and he goes, I'd never heard of that, you know, and he goes, it's probably somewhere, but I don't know where it is. And I wonder if I bet in the next 5 years we're going to see more like rice, more heritage corn, different flavors.
There's a
as these
website you
bigger.
get like that bloody butcher corn.
The bloody butcher is the only one.
Yeah.
It's Arizona corn, and that's like super Arizona local.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'll send you a link to that.
Is it flaked?
I'm not sure if it's flaked. You might have to buy it and flake it yourself.
Yeah, we're right. Yeah, to do a cereal mash or whatever.
Yep.
But I think it's interesting. I think it comes from the distilling side, where they're trying to find a little more character. And I wonder if we're going to get that on the rice side too. And you know, I think in the next 5 or 10 years for these adjuncts, I think it's gonna be kind of interesting flavor wise.
It's a great point. I think you're right, because lager is starting to make a somewhat of a craft beer comeback. It's never going to be, you know, the biggest seller. But people that are serious about craft brewing and doing a great job of brewing want to go back to lager. And part of how do you make a craft lager is the ingredients, and the ingredients of the indigenous, like Western, Midwestern corns. It's not just Bloody Butcher, right? There's a 100 different things, but Bloody Butcher is the one that's kind of become the like a higher volume. I totally agree that we'll see like these heritage, indigenous corns and rice from the U.S. make a comeback in beer.
I don't know. Yeah. So did Chris look at our recipe at all, and or he's like, oh, okay, you need heritage corn. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I was just chatting with them,
Okay,
to see. They're going to sponsor us, by the way, just a heads
That's
up.
cool.
And
Yeah.
And
Shout out to morebeer.com. Go buy ingredients from there.
That's right. And I was just chatting with him. I was like, this is kind of what I'm into, just to see if he maybe has heard something or whatever, because that's how it starts, right? You go to your homebrew shop and you ask them for the weird shit, and then they ask the distributors, and that's how it eventually happens. So he said, no, I don't know, man.
You would hope maybe. Yeah. Well, what do you guys think about this specific beer?
I like it.
I like it a lot. I think I give this a solid 40 in the 40 range.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking 36 because it does ride that line. It doesn't know if it's a lager or an ale, and it's like hopped like an IPA, but it's a little creaminess.
Yeah. It's crisp and dry. It's not too hot.
yeah.
It's like a 6%er.
Yeah.
And that's that's the problem I have. It's a 6%er, and you're putting us out. And first of all, Freedom Fuel, like, come on, dude. I know Livermore's turned into this like Fox motocross fucking flat built hat, area.
It's marketing, dude.
It is, but it's
I think it's a little tongue in cheek, JP.
I hope so. I mean, I'm sure it is. It's marketing, right? But I don't know. I feel like it's at 6%. It's too much. If you drop that to 5%, if you drop that a whole percentage, fucking awesome.
Well,
it's like you got to go up 1% or down 1%. You know what I'm saying?
It
can
be like, or it's I mean, most cold IPAs are like 7%, and this one's like, I don't know, 6, like pushing up towards that. But
yeah, I most pale ales, I don't know. Would it be a pale ale? No, I think it would still be different. I mean, he's got a lot of lagers there in the high 4s, low 5s.
That's right.
And you just in my opinion, a pale or a cold IPA should be a lager that's hopped like an IPA,
but also 7%.
I don't think it should be 7% though. That's I guess that's my problem.
I think 6 would be good,
because I think
I'm okay with a 6% IPA.
Okay, because if for me IPAs are too alcoholic for lagering, and lagers kind of smooth everything out and make it easy drinking. And I feel like to protect the consumer, which sounds stupid, it shouldn't be that high because it is very easy drinking. It's very easy
all about
drinking.
Protecting the consumer, JP.
I am, but I mean, already I haven't had a sip in a couple minutes, and I can feel the burn in my throat. I can feel the alcohol coming up as I'm breathing, and I don't like that aromatic. I don't like that sensation.
Yeah.
One more thing you don't like.
You mixed in the Lent beer.
I mean, that also might be it too. I mean, it's a very well made beer. Again, caveats applied. I do not mean to shit on Altamont or whatever.
No, totally
not only
agree.
are they nice people, but they were instrumental in the East Bay craft beer movement. And they continue to be, and they make solid beer.
100%. Totally agree.
A cold IPA sort of needs to be defined a little bit more. I've had the Wayfinder beers, which were unbelievably awesome. I think they're in Portland.
They're in Portland, yeah.
Yeah. Go there. It's right at the source. It's great.
Yeah.
The one from 2-1A, the cold Brew for Day cold IPA. Very, very good as well.
Phenomenal beer. I love that beer.
Yeah, which I like because it's a little more smooth than this one.
Yeah.
It's a little less alcohol, and that's what I enjoy about it.
Sully knows how to make new styles and to evolve with time, and Sully's always making amazing stuff.
Yeah, but I will say the hop character on this beer is very good. I do like it. It's very approachable.
Mosaic. I guess it's on their website. It says Mosaic, Eldorado, and Strata. Sometimes they might change up their hops a little bit, but I found another description that said something about Citra and Summer.
Yeah, on their can it says Citra, Mosaic, and Eldorado.
Yeah, Citra, Mosaic, Eldo.
The early Mosaic to me smelled and tasted like feet, kind of like Simcoe was like cat pee early on. Mosaic, these after that first year, oh my God, Mosaic has that great blueberry character, and I totally get that here.
But on the website,
blueberry, you get the bitterness.
It says Strata hops, and I'm still there's so many hop varieties coming out all the time, but And I'm, it takes a while to kind of get what each one is.
I'm working on
Strata is great for blending. It's not a great
strawberry.
It's not in the it's not a lead role. That's the best supporting actor, right? As far as I'm concerned for Strata.
I'm working on getting some Yakima Chief guys on the show to talk to us a little bit about what's going on, or whatever. So it's we're gonna do a little more hop, a little more ingredient stuff here in the near future.
Nice.
All right. Yeah. Let's do that.
All right. Let's get out of here. Let's leave.
End the show. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to end the show.
You guys. I want to talk with you guys for all
we've been
day.
doing it
Come on.
Since
it's Sunday. Let's just hang out.
9:45.
Yeah.
And it's 1:40 right now. We're going to get out of here. I need to actually eat lunch. That's
food might be good at some point. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. I can't imagine I don't know. I can't even figure the words anymore. If you want to be on the show, if you want to enter a beer just like Ben did, email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com and we'll take whatever you got. Whatever you want to make.
Brian with an I.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever you want to do, we'll drink it and shit like that.
Sake, wine, anything if you ferment from something, we'll drink it and maybe die. Don't kill.
Hopefully die. Yes, hopefully. Yeah. Try and kill Dr. Homebrew. That's the new evolution of the show, where you send us beer that you haven't actually sanitized with 5-star chemicals or cleaned or anything, and try to murder us. Try to overload our sensories.
You can't kill me, motherfuckers. You bring it. Try your best.
It. Yeah, pussy. Try it. Try it. Try to kill me. I'll only get stronger.
Edit all this out. This is horrible.
Absolutely not. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Good night.